The world's 1.4 billion Catholics are mourning the death of Pope Francis. The Vatican announced this morning that he died from a stroke and a heart attack. Let's take a live look at St Peter's Square now, where pilgrims are gathering to pay their respects in the same place where the pontiff celebrated Easter with crowds just this past weekend. Well, joining us live from Rome now is CNN's Barbie Latza Nadeau. Barbie, thanks for your time this evening, So can you just elaborate, if you can, on the cause of death that was issued just this morning, our time, by the Vatican?
Yeah, he did have a complex clinical picture ever since he was hospitalized on February 14th, spending 5 weeks in the hospital, first with multiple respiratory infections and then diagnosed with double pneumonia. He left the hospital on March 23rd, and the doctors at the time said he would be convalescing for at least 2 months and that he should avoid large crowds. Well, he didn't do that. He continued with his ministry, and, it just, I think, underscores how important being Pope was to Pope Francis. He didn't care necessarily about his own health in terms of taking risks and so, to be present for the people. And we saw that on a number of occasions, especially during Holy Week. Important to remember, of course, that this is a Jubilee year, a holy year that the Pope had called. So there were more people and different types of pilgrims who were here for Easter to take part in those Jubilee festivities, and he wanted to be part of it, and he really was until the end. The timing of his death was incredibly poignant.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, that there's been so many people in Rome who had already been there for this weekend. So how would you describe the mood there this evening?
Well, so many of the people who were in the piazza, the 35,000 people who went to attended the Holy Easter Mass on Sunday, came back today, many of them who were still in Rome, many who live in Rome, to show their respect for this Pope, to mourn with those who had gathered there. And we just saw a steady stream of those people. Then there was a rosary service around the same time that they placed the pontiff's body in the casket in which he will lie in state this week, and in which he will eventually be buried. It's interesting to note he won't be buried in St. Peter's Basilica like so many of the popes in the past. He wants to be buried in St. Mary Major, a smaller but still beautiful church, but one that was very special to him during his papacy here.
Yeah, just another one of those moments where he is breaking with tradition, Barbie. And just on that point, just for those folks who are watching now at home, the steps now that are taken. So you've got the funeral, and then you've got the conclave as well, and none of this goes quickly.
Oh, no, it doesn't. But protocol dictates that the funeral has to be between 5 and 7 days after the death. So we don't have a date for that, but that would put it around the weekend, certainly. And then it'll take a couple more weeks to get all the cardinals to Rome, those who are young enough to be able to vote in the conclave, when they will be, of course, in the Sistine Chapel, where they take part in this very secretive ritual of voting for the next pope. And that's when we see the black smoke when they don't make a decision, and when they do finally come to a conclusion, 2/3 majority on who should be the next pope, they burn the ballots, putting in an additive that turns the smoke white, and then we have that famous white smoke when they announce that there will be a new pope and the successor to Pope Francis.
Yeah, it's quite a mixture of tradition, of politics and theatre as well. Barbie, thank you so much for your time. We'll chat again soon.